All right, Nick. So I don't know if you can retroactively give out Oscars, but I think Will Smith deserves another one for his portrayal of Muhammad Ali after last night. Did you watch the
Right.
Oscars?
I watched the last part of the Oscars. Actually,
Okay.
I'm a big Will Smith fan, so
Mhm.
we had tuned in like maybe about 35 minutes before the ending because I wanted to see if he would win the Oscars. And
Right.
so I tuned in just before that whole thing happened.
Okay. So what was your initial reaction to it?
Well, when we first saw it, we were like, "Is this real? Is this a skit?" Because
Yeah.
our TV actually had froze, and it looked like he was saying something to him, but you couldn't hear anything. And
Mhm.
so, the whole family, we were like, did this really happen? Is this real? Like, dude, we need to get on Twitter like right away. We need to find out like what's going on here. So yeah, so I mean, when we see it live, it didn't like come off like it was real. It came
Mhm.
off it was fake, but once they went back live again, you felt this awkwardness. Like Chris Rock was super like awkward. You can sense the energy in the crowd. And then that's when we were like, we need to look this up. I think this might have been real.
Kudos to him. As awkward as it was, he managed to roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all the way around, it was interesting.
It
It
was
was interesting.
very interesting. I mean, this is my take, and like in this day and age, this may be the hottest hot take you can have. It's none of my business. I'm
Mm,
just like, we could. I'm tons of people have opinions on this, but I'm like, you know what? This is something that happened between three people that I don't know. I can make observations, but I don't really know everything that was going on. It was just a really strange moment.
I agree. And, it's like Chris Rock said in one of his jokes back in the day.
Hmm.
Hey, I don't condone what Will Smith did, but I understand.
I was thinking the same thing. That OJ Simpson joke from like 25 years ago. I don't
Yeah,
condone it, but I understand. Like
but I understand.
anybody who's railing against Will Smith for doing that, like, okay, yeah, he attacked another guy. He hit him, and that's wrong. But get off your high horse, because what would you do if someone publicly making a joke about your wife that she did not appreciate, clearly? Um,
Yeah.
and there's just so many layers to this.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, for one, we're kind of, our society is just past the, we're moving past the jokes about personal appearance. Like, find
Mhm.
other ways to deliver your humor. I know Chris Rock's been in the game for a long time and he's done this kind of stuff before, but it's like you got to evolve your act with society, especially when we're talking about a woman's personal appearance. So, yeah,
Yeah.
kind of a dumb move. And especially, and I don't know if he knew this, but she does have alopecia, causes hair loss. Now, very likely he did not know and just thought that was her hairstyle of choice, but still, like, I don't know, mocking a woman's hairstyle on TV, not a good move
I
either.
mean, that's tough because they've done projects together. I mean, you're
Mm,
talking about Madagascar. They've both
mm,
been in those, so it's not like in that industry, they don't know who they are. And
mhm,
her talk show is pretty popular, and she had quite a few episodes where she was talking about how she was struggling with this. And
mm,
I agree. It's one of those like using people's disabilities, their diseases, things like that are not funny. It's not. And for me, where I get hung up, it's like I watched what he was saying to him afterwards. And to me, it's like two things. What we're really talking about here is boundary setting,
mhm.
right? And how
Yeah.
to effectively set boundaries with people. And in my opinion, that's really what he was doing in the moment was setting a boundary with Chris Rock, like, hey, using her disabilities as a way to make this crowd laugh, shaming her. Like, dude, that's not
Mhm,
okay. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's okay, especially when I looked over. And he says something profound too. Like, how many times do we sit here and we laugh when somebody is using words to abuse us? And this has been a topic for a while now. I mean, this is the same thing that Dave Chappelle went through, right? Where
Mhm.
he was using something that this whole group is going through, and he was being insensitive about it. Like, you don't know what it's like to feel like you're trapped in the wrong body. You have no idea what this person's going through, and to make jokes like that, it's in poor taste. It's like, yeah, well, I like I said earlier, I don't condone what you did, but I also understand what it means to set boundaries with people. And you have no idea how many times this man may have crossed boundaries with Will Smith, and in regards to his wife. And in that moment, he responded, right or wrong. It just
Mhm.
and I agree with you. It's one of those, like, it's layered. This is a classic case of something not being black and white. Like, this is one of those, like, one thing can be both wrong and right at the same time.
And maybe this is like a little crass, but this is what our show is what we've talked about for weeks. What do you think it does for personal brands? You were just
Yeah.
talking about Chris Rock, and I think we can agree, like, maybe he took a little bit of a hit on his personal branding as a guy who, like,
Mhm.
oh man, he's still punching down. It's not a good look these days. What do you think about Will Smith? Does this hurt him? Does it, because this is
Well,
very different from the Will Smith we've known for decades.
I think in a lot of ways it hurts him.
Mhm.
Definitely, because I mean, it tarnishes his brand in many people's eyes,
Yep.
because people have their own feelings about what he did. People have seen him in this type of light. He's always laughing, he's smiling. He seems like someone who always is optimistic about the world. At least that's how he portrays himself. And then now you see a side of him that is aggressive. And there's a whole bunch of other things that come with him in particular being aggressive, which I won't get into. As far as for our branding, it's going to alienate some of the fans that feel like they've been duped, because it's like, all those times that he was smiling and joking? Is that really who he is? Or was he just pretending for the camera, pretending, and not being truthful about what his brand really is?
Mhm. I agree. It is gonna hurt him in the short term. At the same time, I think for a lot of other people, they're seeing Will Smith in a as more of a whole person. It's like for decades we've seen this squeaky clean guy who would not swear in his hip hop music. He's almost always the good guy and just seems like, you
Mhm.
know, a very likable person, and he may very well be. Like, I'm not thinking that it was all a sham. What I'm thinking is, wow, we just saw a human side of him, more
Mhm.
human than before. Like, okay, he's a complex person, just like the rest of us. Again, not saying hitting a guy in the face was the right thing to do, but it did show him letting his guard down, something he's done a bit more lately. And maybe it was that squeaky clean image. It worked really well for him for
Yeah.
decades. But if you're saying that the upper echelon of his career is winning an Oscar, then maybe lately how he's been letting his guard down and taking on this role in King Richard. Um, Maybe it's that letting himself be more human is what led
Mm.
him to this award, this upper echelon. And this moment was him just, not that it was planned or anything, but just continuing to be like, I don't have to box myself in to being this brand that I've built up over the years. I'm going to be
Yeah.
totally myself in this moment.
Yeah. Be
You know?
authentic. I can see what you mean, because
Yeah.
then even as he's smiling and being jovial, you
Mhm.
know that it'll be authentic. Like, it's
Yeah.
because I'm really amused in this moment. It's not because I'm trying to play a character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
mean,
It's
I agree with you. I do see this as like an opportunity for him
mhm,
to rebrand himself in a way. Is like, in that moment, I was protecting my family in his mind.
mhm. Yep.
And that's a part of my brand, is to protect my family and keep that separate from the business. And he can use this also as an opportunity to be a voice to people that have been abused
Mhm.
or, have had to go through that because he, something interesting happened with that exchange between him and Chris Brown after, like, when it was, they censored it off of television here in America. Um, Chris Rock was constantly saying, it's just a joke. It's just a joke.
Yeah.
And Will Smith can actually use this as an opportunity to actually elevate his brand because what we're really talking about is how many times people use the word just. It's just
Mhm.
a job. So you should take abuse from your boss. It's just money. So you should have, so I have to do any and everything because it's just money. Like that word just is something that is used in a way to justify somebody's actions towards you that may have caused you pain. And I know some people may disagree with what I'm saying here, but what I'm really getting at is that he can actually use this as an opportunity to really solidify his brand even further and start having more of a cause. Like, hey, these are things that we need to start evaluating, looking at, and talking about it. Like this is not okay that people are being excused for this type of abusive behavior.
Yeah, and again with the just, when you pull out the phrase "just a joke," basically that's something that people use a lot of to say, "I don't care what you think.
Hmm.
Me making people laugh is more important than you getting upset." So it's like, "Yeah, it's just a joke. Get a sense of humor." Yeah, okay. But keep in mind, everything's funny till it hits close to home. So
Yeah,
what if, okay, you're making all these jokes about me, but what if I make a joke about something else, maybe some kind of condition, disability, whatever, that you or someone you love has, and then suddenly, whoa, that's out of
yeah,
bounds.
that's out of bounds.
Oh, I thought it was just a joke. I thought we could say whatever we want,
It's
right?
also important to recognize your audience. And so,
Mm.
in that situation, if you're really thinking about it, Chris Rock should have kept his material to the people that was in that show, right? He's going up there. Will Smith is getting nominated. He's a part of the show. His film is a part of it. It's like he also said something about Denzel Washington because Denzel Washington was in the best actor category. So it's like in that venue, making fun of those guys is a part of the show. Now, you can make an argument Jada had nothing to do with the show. She's not being nominated for anything. She's a plus one at the end of the day. And he decided to target someone who wasn't even a part of the show. So it's like when we're sitting here talking about marketing, it's like how many times does your message get missed because you target the wrong person? You're like, hey, this ad's not working. This message is not working. Yeah, because you're going after the a different person than what your offer is for. So in that moment, if Chris Rock says a joke about Will Smith, everybody laughs. It's over. And even if Will Smith doesn't like it, it fits in the context of the show. So his message would have hit. It'd have been like, oh, okay, while I may not have liked the joke he said about me, but it's perfectly fine because in this venue, it's acceptable. It's like earlier in the show, I think it was Regina Hall. She said a joke about Will Smith and the arrangement between he and his wife with their marriage, but she kept it strictly about him. So it's like, yeah, you're part of the show tonight, buddy. So we're gonna roast you. These things just kind of happen. But when we're talking about messaging, like I was saying earlier, once he brought in someone who wasn't a part of the show, the message got lost. It's like, this is not resonating with me, buddy. And of course, a negative reaction happened. And so that's something to think about when it comes to your marketing. You want to make sure that your message is being targeted to the right audience. Because otherwise, you're going to alienate people that could potentially become your customer down the road.